I saw you descend into the valley when you no longer had strength to look back, when the echoes of your heart only repeated mistakes. You did not know how to correct when the voices around you no longer brought comfort, but judgment, when your feet dragged along a path that seemed increasingly distant from hope, when you did not understand that the dust you touched with your knees was the very place where I had spread my mercy. I waited for you there, without demanding explanations, without reminding you of the times you fled, without recalling the paths you took away from my presence, because my love does not diminish when you decide to turn away. My faithfulness does not withdraw when you stain yourself with guilt, and my gaze does not turn away even when you close your eyes to avoid seeing. May waited for you without anger, because your screams did not offend me, nor your questions, nor your silence, because I knew your soul was not seeking rebellion, but help, and in your deepest confusion you were still loved, even if you did not feel it, even if you did not believe it, even if you thought it was too late to returning. That valley where no one saw you, where no one asked for you, where you did not even know who you were, where the echo of your name seemed to have faded. I was there, and I kept being there, and I did not leave. I saw every thought that blamed you, every memory that hurt, every time you wanted to give up, and every day you woke up without the will to begin. And still, I kept waiting. I waited when others gave you up for lost. I waited when you called yourself unworthy. I waited when you did things you didn't want to speak of. I waited when lies surrounded you like chains. I waited when your soul only begged for oblivion. But my love does not forget. My love remembers not the sin, but the seed I placed in you before sin came. I did not love a future version of you. I waited for you because I knew truth would shine again inside you. And even if you were full of dust, even if you thought yourself irreparable, even if you hid as if your soul had no value, my love stood firm. I brought no punishment in my hands. I brought shelter, I brought bread, I brought living water, I brought words that heal, because you did not know that valley was my altar disguised as ruin. And while everyone saw abandonment, I saw birth. Your pain did not scare me away, your sins did not keep me from coming near, your past did not make me step back, because I do not love from a distance. I love with presence, and my presence was not broken by your fall. On the contrary, it grew stronger, more intimate, more willing to wait as long as it took. I knew you could not rise alone. I knew you had become used to carrying guilt as if it were part of your identity. I knew your silence was a hidden cry. I knew you wanted to return, even if you didn't know how, and so I did not force you, I did not blame you, I did not rush you. I did not rush you, I just stayed there in the valley where no one saw you, where you thought I had also gone away. Heard your long nights, where you thought no one understood the weight inside you, where your tears were invisible but fell inside, and each one was gathered by my eternity. Did not call you by your mistakes. I called you by your name, the one pain could not erase, the one sin did not stain, the one heaven still whispers with tenderness, even if the earth has stopped doing so. I am not waiting for a perfect version of you, I am waiting for your surrender. Not the surrender of failure, but the surrender of trust, that you will look at me and say, I can't do this alone, and then you will understand you were never alone. I waited for you at the moment everyone turned their back on you, when you thought your decisions had no redemption, when your words were clumsy, when your thoughts accused you, when your heart did not know how to love or receive love. And still I loved you, not for what you did, but because you were, because you are, because you will be. My promises did not vanish with your fall. My covenant did not expire because of your error. My love did not withdraw because you said you were worthless. You cannot destroy what I built with eternity. You cannot break what I sealed with my blood. You cannot go so far that my grace cannot reach you. Why did not come to point fingers? I came to clothe you again. I came to cleanse your soul. I came to take away the weight you carry inside. I came to restore you without conditions. I came to give back what you thought was lost forever. You don't know how many times I spoke around you, how many times I placed signs, how many times I shouted silently, waiting for you to turn your face to the sky. And even if you didn't, even if you looked down, even if you decided to walk the opposite way, I kept speaking, I kept sending peace amidst pain. I kept moving everything around you so you would know that in the valley where no one saw you, I was still there. No valley is too deep, that my love cannot fill it. No past is too dark, that my light cannot touch it. No sin is too heavy, that my forgiveness cannot embrace. I don't want to remake you. I want to resurrect you, because your soul is not dead, it's only asleep. And today, I call your name just as one calls Lazarus, not to ask questions, but to bring life. I didn't come to judge you. I came to make you new. I came to restore the colors guilt dulled. I came to give back the voice fear stole. I came to remind you that the valley is not your tomb, it is your field of resurrection. And even if you don't know it yet, even if you don't feel it, even if you still think you don't deserve anything, my love already covers you, already calls you, already holds you, already holds you. Awaited for you in that valley, like a father waits for the child who doesn't know how to return, like a lover waits for the heart that has forgotten the way, like a creator who has never abandoned his work. I waited for you not with accusations but with tenderness, not with threats but with truth, not with distance but with tears. And now when the valley begins to speak of life, when the soul starts to hear again, when the wind stops striking and begins to whisper, I am still here and I will not move, until you understand that that place where no one saw you was the place where I loved you the most, even when your soul was heavy and closed. When your eyes refused to see beyond the shadows, I was quietly working behind the scenes, mending the broken places you could not touch. Your heart had been battered by storms, wounded by betrayals, weighed down by regrets, yet in the silence of that valley, I was whispering peace. I saw the cracks in your spirit, the places where doubt seeped like water, and I filled them with hope. Not all at once, but drop by drop, moment by moment, because healing is not a race. It is a patient unfolding of grace. You wondered if forgiveness was even possible, forgiving yourself, forgiving those who abandoned you, forgiving the choices that led you here. I came gently to remind you that forgiveness is not a distant gift, but a near breath, an invitation to freedom, waiting for you to accept. Your sins, the ones you carried like heavy stones, were never too many for my mercy. I do not count your failures to condemn you, but to remind you that my grace is greater. Each step you took away from me, I met with arms open wide, ready to catch you, ready to restore you. I began to paint over the scars of your past, not to erase them, but to transform them into testimonies of my faithfulness. Your wounds became windows through which my light could shine, inviting others to see that no darkness is beyond redemption. The valley where you once felt lost was becoming a garden of new beginnings. I planted seeds of joy in the soil of sorrow, flowers of peace amid the ashes, and slowly your spirit began to recognize my hand. There were moments when the weight of guilt tried to pull you back down, when the voices of shame returned to accuse. But I stood beside you as your defender, silencing the lies, reminding you that you are clothed in righteousness. Your heart began to soften, like the dawn breaking over the mountains, casting away the night's chill, inviting warmth and light to enter. You began to see yourself through my eyes, not as the broken one, but as the beloved child, worthy of love, called to greatness. In this new awakening, I revealed the depth of my patience, the vastness of my compassion, the endlessness of my promises. You were not abandoned, you were being prepared. The mistakes that once seemed like chains were being lifted one by one, as you learned to surrender fear, to trust my timing, to believe in the beauty of a story rewritten by grace. You started to speak again, softly at first, hesitant and unsure, but with each word, your voice grew stronger. You told me your fears, your hopes, your longing for healing, and I listened, not with judgment, but with a heart ready to embrace. I showed you that your worth is not measured by perfection, but by the courage to keep coming back, the humility to admit weakness, the faith to believe in my redemption. As your spirit opened, I began to restore your identity, reminding you of the destiny I placed within you before the foundations of the world. You are more than your past, more than your failures, more than the valley you walked through. I revealed the purpose hidden in the pain, the calling that arose from the ashes, the strength forged in fire. You began to understand that your story is not one of defeat, but of victory, victory in my love, victory in my grace, victory in my power. Each day, I breathed new life into your soul, whispering promises of hope, writing visions of peace, painting dreams of restoration. You were no longer the lost child of yesterday, but a new creation, fearfully and wonderfully made, marked by my love, empowered by my spirit. The valley was no longer a prison, but a place of transformation. Where you once felt invisible, you now began to see the footprints of my presence. I called you out of the shadows into the light of my embrace, not because you earned it, but because I chose you. You began to believe that healing is possible, that forgiveness is real, that love never fails. And in that believing, you found the courage to hope again. Though the journey ahead was still long, you no longer walked it alone. My hand held yours, my heart beat with yours, my spirit guided your steps. I showed you that your scars are badges of honor, proof of endurance, testimonies of my faithfulness. You were learning to forgive yourself, to let go of bitterness, to embrace grace. And with each step, your soul grew stronger. You became a living witness of my mercy, a beacon of light for those still wandering. Your story was becoming a song of redemption, a testimony of love that never gives up. In the valley, where no one saw you, you were being prepared to rise, not just to survive, but to thrive, not just to exist, but to shine. and I waited patiently, knowing the day would come when you would lift your eyes, recognize my presence, and say, I am ready to walk with you again. Until then, I continued to love you, to heal you, to call you by name because you were never alone. After the darkest night, when shadows seemed endless, you began to awaken, not because you decided alone, but because my gentle hand began to guide you. With steps both firm and tender, awakening in you a longing you had forgotten. The peace you sought did not come as a sudden strike, but like a river slowly calming, filling every crack in your soul, softening what was once hardened by pain, transforming your gaze toward the future. You found that hope is not an empty dream, but the certainty of my faithfulness. Not because the world changed, but because I changed your heart, your spirit, your essence. You began to see that the purpose you thought lost was not in applause, nor in human approval, but in daily surrender, in silent sacrifice, in love given, without expecting anything in return. The valley, which was once a place of abandonment, became an altar of worship. Every tear you shed was watered with my presence. Every brokenness you felt was shaped by my love. Your sins, which seemed like eternal chains, were released by my immense forgiveness. I did not minimize your pain, nor hide your story, but I invited you to look beyond it, toward the identity I have given you, beyond your mistakes, toward the soul I created for eternity. You walked with me, not always without doubts, but with growing faith, knowing that each step, no matter how small, was valuable. Each day you chose to rise, you were stronger than the day before. You learned that true love is not based on conditions, that loyalty does not depend on perfection, that patient waiting bears fruits invisible to the human eye. And while you walked that path, I was there, not to judge your falls, but to lift you, not to point out your faults, but to remind you of your worth, not to measure your effort, but to fill you with my grace. My love was the fire that purified, not to burn you, but to refine you. The test was not to destroy you, but to reveal who you really are. Through sacrifice and waiting, you discovered that strength is born in weakness, that true victory is not the absence of struggle, but perseverance in the midst of it. I taught you that forgiving is not forgetting, but freeing the soul to fly free, that forgiveness is not a gift for the one who hurt you, but for yourself, to break the chains of resentment. With every act of forgiveness, your spirit became lighter, more capable of loving without fear, more willing to trust in the divine love that never fails. Your loyalty to me, though tested, was strengthened with every challenge, because you understood that faith is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to believe despite it. And in patient waiting, you discovered that you are not alone, that my timing is perfect, that my promises are not late, but fulfilled at the exact moment that suits you. You began to sow seeds of hope inside you, knowing the fruit would come in His time, without rushing, without desperation, only with the quiet confidence of a soul that knows it is loved. The valley turned into a path of light, a way where faith walked ahead, making way for full restoration, for joy born from divine understanding. Your soul understood that you are not a product of your failures, but of my constant grace. You are not defined by your falls, but by the love that holds you when you can no longer stand. In this new stage, your heart became a home, not only for you, but for those who need to see the light you have found, to be a reflection of my love. For others lost in their own valleys, your silent sacrifice began to echo, your patience began to bear fruit, your surrender began to have meaning. You understood that true loyalty is the one that holds firm when no one is watching, when no visible reward exists, when everything seems against you. And in that hidden loyalty, I made you strong, I gave you power, I gave you my spirit to guide you. I showed you that no matter how deep the valley is, my presence is always deeper still, that no matter how dark the path is, my light never goes out, that no matter how many times you fall, my hand is always extended to lift you. Therefore, my soul, walk with confidence, because what began in the valley does not end there, that their true life is born, the life that only I can give. And though trials keep coming, and though the world keeps trying to extinguish your light, remember you are held by my love, strengthened by my grace, and called to shine in the midst of darkness. This is the purpose I give you, to be a beacon, to be a refuge, to be a testimony of my faithfulness. Your story is not one of defeat, but of victory in my name. And so, the valley ceased to be a prison, to become a cradle of hope, a seed of glory, and a garden of rebirth. Walk with me, my soul, because restoration is a path that does not end, but grows with every step, with every surrender, with every act of love. I am with you, now and always, in the valley where no one saw you, And on the summit where I will raise you up, the moment your spirit awoke, a new purpose ignited within you, not born from human ambition, but from the divine whisper that calls every soul to life. You are no longer the lost one wandering aimlessly. You are the chosen vessel, anointed to carry light into places still shadowed by despair. This awakening is not sudden like a flash of lightning, but steady like the rising sun, illuminating your path step by step, transforming every fear into courage, every doubt into faith, every wound into strength. God has placed a mission in your heart, a mission born in the valley of silence, forged in the fires of trial, tempered in the patience of waiting. You are called to be a beacon, a refuge for the weary, a voice of hope for the broken-hearted. That your journey is no longer just about survival. It is about purpose, about walking boldly in the truth of who you are, reflecting the love that healed you, shining the light that once found you. The soul that has known darkness understands deeply the value of light. You carry within you the power to heal, not because you are perfect, but because you have been made whole through grace. Your mission is to extend the hand that was once lifted to rescue you, to offer the embrace you longed for, to speak words of life where silence reigned. As you walk this path, you will encounter challenges, not the ones that break you, but those that refine your spirit, teaching you reliance on divine strength, deepening your compassion, expanding your capacity to love without limits. The call to walk in light and love is both a privilege and a responsibility. You are to be a living testimony of redemption, a mirror reflecting God's unfailing mercy to a world that desperately needs it. This calling transcends circumstances, reaching beyond personal healing to impact others, those still trapped in their valleys waiting for a hand to guide them, a heart to understand them. Your faith becomes the lamp that lights their way, your hope the song that lifts their spirits, your love the shelter that protects and renews. God has entrusted you with this sacred mission, not because of your strength, but because of His dot. You are an instrument, an ambassador of His kingdom, called to walk humbly, serve generously, and love endlessly. The journey ahead will require courage. The courage to stand firm when voices oppose you, the courage to forgive when hurt runs deep, the courage to keep moving when the road seems long. Yet with every step taken in obedience, you will experience the fullness of divine peace, the joy that surpasses understanding, the power that transforms lives. Remember, you do not walk alone. The same hand that lifted you from the valley is holding yours now, guiding every step, lighting every dark corner. Your mission is not a burden, but a gift, an opportunity to participate in the great work of restoration, to bring heaven's light to earth's darkest places. Embrace this calling with open arms and a willing heart. Let your life be a living prayer, a melody of grace, a testimony to the power of love that never fails. That you walk in light and love, you will inspire others to rise, to believe, to hope. Your story becomes a beacon, shining brightly across the shadows, calling others out of their own valleys into the warmth of God's embrace. This is the awakening, the divine spark that turns suffering into purpose, pain into passion, waiting into action. So rise, beloved soul, walk boldly in the path prepared for you, knowing that every step fulfills the promise of new life, that every act of love echoes eternity, and that you are crowned not by human praise, but by the glory of the one who made you. In this mission, you find your true home, your eternal calling, and the boundless joy of walking in the light of love. As the journey of faith continues, the soul grows deeper into the purpose for which it was created. The path that once seemed fraught with uncertainty now shines with clarity, illuminated by the light of divine revelation. Every step taken in obedience is a seed sown into the fertile ground of eternity. The calling that began in the valley has reached a moment of fulfillment. This culmination is not an end, but a glorious beginning, a harvest that reveals the fruit of perseverance, faith, and love. The trials faced, the sacrifices made, and the tears shed have all contributed to a rich harvest that honors the Creator's design. The spiritual harvest is seen not only in personal transformation, but in the lives touched by the love that flows from a heart renewed by grace. The legacy of love becomes a living testimony, echoing beyond time and space, inspiring generations to come. Those who have walked the valley and emerged victorious carry with them a light that never dims. This light is the radiance of divine love, shining through wounds, healed, and scars transformed into badges of honor. It is a beacon that calls others out of darkness into hope. The culmination of the calling is marked by a deep understanding that the mission is not about personal glory but about glorifying the one who called. It is a surrender to the higher purpose that transcends self and embraces the eternal. In this moment, The soul recognizes the vastness of God's plan, a plan that includes restoration, redemption, and the spreading of love as the greatest commandment. The journey through the valley was a necessary passage to prepare the heart for this divine task. The spiritual harvest is the result of faithful sowing in seasons of waiting and growth. It is the manifestation of patience rewarded, trust proven, and love perfected. Every act of kindness, every prayer uttered, every moment of faithfulness contributes to this eternal bounty. The legacy left behind is not measured by earthly accomplishments, but by the impact on souls. It is the imprint of compassion, forgiveness, and grace that transforms lives and communities. This legacy is a testament to the power of God, working through a willing heart. The heart that once felt lost now beats with purpose. The hands that once trembled now build with confidence. The voice that once whispered now proclaims boldly the message of hope and restoration. This legacy of love becomes a foundation upon which others stand, a refuge for the weary and a guide for those still navigating their own valleys. It is a chain of grace linking generations, a tapestry woven with threads of mercy and faith. The culmination of the calling brings with it a peace that surpasses understanding, a deep rest in the assurance that every step taken was part of a divine plan. The soul is anchored in the knowledge that it was never alone, that every trial was accompanied by unseen grace, that this peace allows the soul to release the burdens of the past and embrace the fullness of life in the present. It is a freedom born from forgiveness, a joy cultivated in surrender, and a strength drawn from the Spirit. The spiritual harvest is also a celebration of life, renewed, a testimony to the power of resurrection in the midst of brokenness. It is the triumph of light over darkness, hope over despair, love over fear. Those who have been touched by this journey become carriers of hope, ambassadors of grace, and vessels of divine love. Their lives tell a story of redemption that inspires others to seek the same transformation. The legacy of love is eternal because it is rooted in the heart of God. It transcends time and space, continuing to bear fruit long after the initial sowing. It is the gift that keeps giving, the light that never fades. In this culmination, the soul understands that the journey was never about reaching a destination alone, but about walking hand in hand with the divine, bringing others along. The way the harvest is abundant because it is blessed by heaven. It is a testimony that no valley is too deep, no night too dark, and no soul too lost for the power of God's love to reach and restore. The legacy left behind is a beacon of hope for all who follow, a reminder that faithfulness is rewarded, that love conquers all, and that the story of redemption is never ending. As the soul embraces this legacy, it becomes a living prayer, a song of praise, and a testimony of God's unchanging faithfulness. It shines as a light in the darkness, guiding others to the valley where love waits patiently. The culmination of the calling is a celebration of the soul's victory, an eternal crown bestowed not by human hands, but by the one who waits patiently. In the valley where no one saw, the journey through the valley was not without struggle, not without tears, not without moments when the soul questioned if the wait would ever end. Yet, in every silent hour, in every unseen battle, the promise of eternal victory was quietly being written. Those who remained faithful in the valley, who held fast despite the trials, who kept their eyes fixed on the unseen hand that guided them, are the ones who will receive the crown of glory. This crown is not a reward for perfection, nor a prize for fleeting success. It is the recognition of perseverance, the honor given to hearts that never gave up, the testimony of souls refined in the fire of faith. God's crown is woven with threads of grace and love, set with jewels of patience and steadfastness. It is a symbol of victory over sin, over doubt, over fear, and over the darkness that once threatened to consume. The crown rests not on the brow of those who walked a flawless path, but on those who walked a path of redemption, whose scars tell stories of healing, whose weakness was transformed into strength by divine power. The eternal victory belongs to those who embraced their trials, who saw beyond the pain to the purpose, who understood that every valley was a step toward glory. In the depths of loneliness and despair, they found the presence of God as their companion. In the silence of waiting, they heard the voice that whispered hope. In the midst of sacrifice, they discovered the source of true joy. Their story is not hidden, but engraved in the book of life, a testimony for all generations. They shine as stars in the heavenly realm, their light reflecting the faithfulness of their God. The crown of glory is the seal of their victory, the mark of a soul that did not turn away, that did not falter, that did not lose heart. It is a reward for those who loved without condition, forgave without limit, and waited without despair. The eternal victory is more than a promise. It is a present reality for those who trust beyond what they see. It is the peace that surpasses understanding, the joy that fills the heart even amid trials. Those who were faithful in the valley will stand with honor, their names called by the one who waited patiently. They will hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your Lord." Their victory is a celebration of divine grace, a triumph of love that conquers all. It is the beginning of a new chapter where pain is no more, where sorrow is replaced with gladness, and where the soul rests in eternal embrace. The crown they receive shines with the brilliance of heaven, a radiant testimony of their journey through darkness into light. This victory is not earned by works, but given freely to those who surrender completely, who trust in the faithfulness of God, and who remain steadfast until the end. The valley was not the end, but the preparation, the refining fire that made them ready to receive the glory that awaits. Their faithfulness in the valley echoes through eternity, inspiring others to persevere, to hope, to love. God's crown is a reminder that no effort is wasted, no sacrifice ignored, and no soul forgotten. The eternal victory glorifies not the individual alone, but the one who sustains, redeems, and crowns. As they wear their crowns, they will serve as a testament to the power of God's love, a love that never fails, never fades, and never abandons. The valley where no one saw them was the place where God saw their hearts most clearly. It was the place where He shaped their character, molded their spirit, and prepared them for eternal glory. Their victory is shared with all who believe, all who endure, all who trust in the one who waits. This crown is the ultimate symbol of hope, fulfilled, of promises kept, and of love perfected. The faithful will reign with God forever, their joy complete, their peace unending, their glory eternal. And so, the story of the valley ends not with fire that consumes, but with glory that crowns, not with loss, but with victory, not with silence, but with the eternal song of praise. They are forever held in the presence of the one who loved them first, who waited patiently, and who crowned them with honor. This is the eternal victory, the crown of glory, the unending love of God for those who remained faithful in the valley where no one saw them.